I have forwarded. So those who doesn't have it, just send me an email ID in WhatsApp. I'll share it. So yesterday we have discussed about what is integration, what is middleware, and what are the different middleware tools are available in the market, and in that, what is Mulesoft, what is its customer base, why the name comes as a Mulesoft, and advantages of the Mulesoft, and then Mulesoft versions, how many versions of the software we have, and then what are the prerequisites to learn the Mulesoft, and then hardware prerequisites. So at the time I said we will use something called Anypoint Studio 711, which inbuilt contains something called Mule 4.4 runtime. If anyone asks you what version of the Mule you are learning, you have to say it's Mule 4 version. Specifically 4.4 is the version, and then we are using a tool called Anypoint Studio, right? So what you will get in my course that I have explained, those who didn't attended yesterday's session, those who are freshly attending today's session, you can just go through the video I have shared. So that gives you a basic understanding on the MuleSoft, right? So now we will go to the topic 2, setup, and then first example. So the contents, Anypoint Studio. What is this Anypoint Studio? Introduction to it, and how to download and install it, and how to build your first application in the MuleSoft, and introduction to something called Mule applications, when we will call it as a Mule application, what it will contain, and something called flows, Mule flows, and then how to run your first Mule application. That is what we are going Anypoint Studio. So before we directly go there, suppose so suppose if I want to write something and show you what is the tool I am using in my desktop now to write something, to write some notes. What's the tool I am using?
Notepad plus plus.
We are using Notepad++. In the same way, every programming, computer program we use, we need to write the code, right? We need to develop the code here. What are we doing? We are developing integrations, right? So to develop the integrations, what we need something, some place, or some tool. So to write your notes, what I'm using something called Notepad++. In the same way, most of you at least at least have learned C, at least in worst case, right, through in your BTECs or in something else. So if you want to develop something in the C, what tool you will use? Anyone? Blue color screen we will see, right? Turbo C or Turbo C++. What we used to do there, we used to write our code, and then so in what language we will write our code? We'll use Telugu, Hindi, English.
English.
Use high level language, English, but computer cannot understand your processor and CPU cannot understand the English, and you will use some kind of compiler means which translates your English language to machine level language, right? So we will use these kind of the things when we use the C. So when you go to Java, what we will use, we will write anything in the any kind of notepad, and after writing, what we will do the compilation. So what it will do, it transforms your English level language to some kind of byte code or your machine level language, and then after that you will try to run your program. Running means executing your program, which will execute. And then before running, it will sometimes you need to package your application. Means packaging means you can write one single class or one single program, or you can write n number of programs. So when you write n number of programs, you have to mix them all, and then you have to create a package kind of zip file, right? Most of you had used zip files. Why? We have too many files. In order to mix them all, create a single file, we will try to zip them up. That is called packaging of your application and running. These are the things we will do in Java, right? So if you know it, that's fine. If you don't know it, that's also fine. Now when it comes to the MuleSoft, we will write, you know, we will not write, text code like either C or Java. What we will do, we have learned in yesterday's session, we will use drag and drop mechanism to write, to develop your integrations. To drag and drop, you need some kind of tool. That tool is called, what it is called? Anypoint Studio. So we will call this as a studio, and this is from the MuleSoft platform. MuleSoft platform named as Anypoint. So in the Anypoint Studio, what we will do? We will write, or we will do drag drop, and then automatically code was generated. When we have written the code, in order to understand it by the system, what we need to do? We need to compile, and then we need to package, and then we need to run this code, right? So these are the number of the steps we have to do. So these are all the manual steps we have to do. So in order to avoid all these manual steps, we have something concept called IDE. What is that? IDE. IDE stands for integrated development environment. Whatever the steps I have told here, all these steps will be done with a few mouse clicks. You don't need to run any commands. Ideally, initially, we have to run some commands for C, some commands for Java. In the same way, you need to write some commands to avoid all these steps. I mean, executing the commands for, compiling, packaging, and running. IDE will come where integrated development environment, where everything is configured, and then we will, with few mouse clicks, we can run the commands. You don't need to write any command and execute it, right? MuleSoft uses Anypoint platform. So it is based on the Eclipse and a common Java integrated development environment. So this IDE's concept comes with the Java. So your MuleSoft is a tool used by, developed by Java. So in the backend, it will uses Java. You don't need to have any Java knowledge. So the tool is based on something called Eclipse, and it includes two-way editing, pre-built tooling, data transformation framework, embedded Mule runtime, visual debugging, and one-click deployment to Cloud Hub. So all these things you will get to know when we are moving to the next sessions. But why we have written here, the same content will be given to you in the PDFs for you refreshing or for your reading material. So that is the point of keeping all these things. So Anypoint Studio setup. How do you set up your Anypoint Studio? We'll set up our Anypoint Studio by using this link. So let's all go and do a setup. So I'll share the links over here, try to do a copy, right? Try to do the copy. So this is the first link. So what you have to do here, go here, docs.mulesoft.com is the site for your MuleSoft documentation. Here you will have find a lot of documentation. You don't know anything here. So that's why I'm giving a direct link which will take you to the studio installation. So now download and install Anypoint Studio. To download and install the studio, follow the instructions based on your operating system. Whatever the operating system you are using, click on that link and open that in a new tab. So hope everyone will use this Windows. Now what you have to do here, download and install Anypoint Studio to Windows. Download the Anypoint Studio installation from your downloaded site. So go here. It's a 30 days free download, 30 days free trial. Generally they'll say, but it works for with unlimited time. Choose your operating system, provide your details, and then click on the download. So once you do that, what you will get once you will do that, you will get a zip file, something like this. Just I have downloaded this 2-3 days back, right? You will get a zip file. Try to save it. So I'm giving my data here. Now just fill this data and click on download. It will give you a pop-up to download the data. So it's asking me to save the file. Go and save the file. It takes it is a one point around how much it is, 1.9 GB, nearly 2 GB file it will download. So now it will be a zip file. So how to install this zip file, how to open this zip file, you need any zipping software. So I used something called 7-zip software to open this. If you have any other zipping tool, use it. If not, download 7-zip for Windows, right? Download the 7-zip and then install it. So exe file, depending on your operating system, 64-bit or 32-bit. How do we find whether it is 64 or 32? Right click on your computer, this PC, and then properties. Here you can find what is your operating system type. It is 64-bit operating system with x64 based processor. So we have to choose that version and then download it and then install your 7-zip. So once you have installed the 7-zip, directly you can double click this. It will have your Anypoint Studio software, or right click and then here you have 7-zip option and then extract here or extract to. So or extract whatever you can think, just open this archive. So once you have opened, what you have to do, this folder you need to extract. So in the C directory, remember, don't extract anywhere else. In the C directory, create some folder, whatever the name it is. Inside that, you go and extract it. What you should do is just go to go to this and then go to see, copy that file and keep the zip file over here. And then right click, show more options. I'm using Windows 11. That is why I'm getting a new things. Here, show more options. So generally in Windows 10, you will get all these things. 7-zip and then extract here. So when you click this extract here, that Anypoint Studio folder will open and then you will have all the contents will get extracted, right? So I'm not extracting this, I'm not using this because already I have extracted different versions of the studio. Started with 7.9, 7.10, and now I am with the 7.11. So that's the reason after I extracted, I will add the number. I will try to rename this folder and try to add a version number next to it, right? 7.11.1, something like this I will write. So I already holded this, so that's the reason I am not keeping this. I'm deleting this. So once you extracted, Once you extracted, now open this Anypoint Studio 711, and then inside that you have something called anypointstudio.exe. This is the file you have to this is the file you have to double click so that it will open. So this is a studio. So studio will ask you whenever you open the studio, it will ask us a location, folder location, where it can save the projects that we create. Whatever the work you will do, whatever the work you will do, that will be saved in a location. It will ask that location at the time of starting. So I'll create a folder for every batch. I'll maintain the attendance and I'll keep your videos here. And then I'll have a workspace folder. This is the location where I will give to this select a directory as a workspace. So here I will give you, and I will click on the launch. So here studio will create some internal files, right? So if I go to the previous batch, so here I have workspace. Here these are the projects we have worked on the previous batch. So that is how all your project will be saved. Now we have opened the workspace. So this is called your studio. So first time when you open a fresh workspace, you will get this kind of window. Just click on this continue to studio button so that you will go to the studio, right? This is the studio. It is opened in an restored mode, and I am trying to make it into maximize mode, right? This is your studio. So what are the different windows, different views inside your studio? So when you open your studio, it will have different small sized windows. Your entire studio is divided into small windows. If you see, there are small windows. Some small windows are added next to each other here, and some windows are individual. So this small window is called a view. Why view? It is showing, it is there to show something. This particular view name is package explorer. It will show us something. This particular view name outline, it will outline something. munit munit errors, and mule properties, console, problems, and mule palette. So something like this. And there is an grayed out space is there, maximum space is there here. So we will have different windows are there. These are called views. Each view will show us something here. So why we will use studio? We will use the studio to develop a integration, right? So to develop the integrations, we will use the Mulesoft Anypoint Studio. So in order to develop something in your studio, first you have to create a Mulesoft project. So first we have to create a Mulesoft project. So how to create that? File, new, Mule project. This is option 1. What was that? File, new, Mule project. Second option, beside that, below that, you will have a toolbar where you will have directly options are available. You can click and then choose Mule project. Both will give you the same wizard, right? So now this is the one. So what is my project name? So A, first project. I'll prefix ABC alphabets before each my project name so that they will be in the order. And then just provide the name. That's it. And then click on the finish button. So what will happen? A project will be created, and that project will be in the backend. It will be stored inside the workspace folder that I have selected. So when we create a project, so this is how they will be created. It will create a hell lot of things inside that, in which we are going to see only the first folder. Inside that you will have a file with your project name. So whatever the project, whatever the files you want to open, that will get open in a space. Now I am clicking this some JSON file, some XML file. So where they are opening in a view. This is a view. This is called canvas. What was that? Canvas. Here we will, these views are, auto adjustable. So if you want, you can even close this. Even if you close, if nothing is there, it will show in a grayed out mode. So now open your first project. So generally, what is the first project we will learn everywhere? If you are from software, if you are learning anything, what is the first project we'll do? What's the first project? First application.
Hello world.
Hello world. Right? Everyone will print hello world. Let's also print the hello world. How do we print? What we can create in the Mulesoft? So how do we all join in this meeting? How do we all of us join this meeting? Where is it? We are all joined this meeting with a link. So how is that link? This is the link I have joined. We have all joined. Why you guys, we all joined the same link? What is making us here? So what are the parts inside this link? So inside this link, we have something called protocol. Your browser uses HTTP or HTTPS is a protocol. And then where we are connecting? We are connecting meet.google.com. In that particular server, I am using an entry called, in that particular host, I am using an entry called 80. And then say if you take a house, we will have a house, and house will have a gate. And inside, when you go inside the house through the gate, you will have different persons. We will go and meet a specific person. In the same way, when a website address is constructed, it will be constructed like this. In the meet.google.com, there will be hell lot of meetings are going on, in which there might be lakhs of meetings are going on at the moment, but we have all joined in a specific meeting. How this was? By an ID. So when I joined this, we are all here, and then we are trying to discuss something out here, right? So now here I want to do the same thing in the Mulesoft. What I want to do, I want to send a request from the browser. So if I want to send a request from the browser, what I need to use? I need to use a protocol, and then I need to use an host name. So where is my studio? Where is my application where I am developing? In my local machine, right? The local machine is called, in computer terminology, it is a local host. So in this local host, I'm giving an entry called 8081, and then I will generate a program, something called name as a hi. This is what I will send the request from the browser, right? Send request from the browser to your Mulesoft application. What you will receive, your Mule application has to respond. What it has to respond? Hello all, welcome to Mulesoft. This is what we have to get, right? New members who are new to IT, are you guys clear what I am trying to do here? Right? So this is what the request I want to send from the browser, and your Mule application should accept the request, and then it should respond with this response. It's something like when we meet someone, what we will say, we'll say hi to them, hi or hello, we will respond, they will respond in the same way. The same thing I am doing here. I'm just calling something, and it is responding with this kind of message. So this is what we are trying to learn now. So in the Mulesoft, what is Mulesoft? It's a drag and drop based tool. So in order to do drag and drop, suppose if I have Microsoft Paint, now I have circle. How do I get circle? Click here and drag drop, and then arrow mark, right? So this is how I'll get the things. In the same way, in the Mulesoft also, if you want something, you have to drag and drop. So that drag and drop place in the paint, I have the things over here. And then if I want some text, I will drag drop the text, then I'll get the text over here, right? So now in the Mulesoft, what is similar to that? So in the Mulesoft, do drag and drop, we need the tools or we need the components to drag and drop. All these components are available in a place called, in a view called palette, right? What is that? In a view called palette. We have touched three views: package explorer, canvas, and then mule palette. So what is our application? Our application requirement, we have to accept the request from this URL. This we have to accept a request which is sent to this particular URL. So to accept the request, when browser is sending the request for this URL, your mule application should listen to that. For that, what we will use, so go to favorites here and then click on the listener and then just place it inside your canvas, anywhere in the canvas. So here is the listener. Let me go and configure that listener. So when you click on the listener, right, your mule properties tab will be enabled and it will show the name of the component that you have clicked, and you can provide some kind of configurations to this. What are the configurations? So on which system and which port number it is ready to listen, that is called your connector configuration. So drop down, click on this drop down. What is this drop down says? Hey, go and create a new configuration. So whenever you see in the drop down this kind of create new configuration, then only you have to use the new configuration. So click on this plus button to create the new configuration. Add button. Now it will comes up with the default values. What is the protocol? What is the protocol we have discussed? We are going with HTTP. And then where is the host? Where is your application runs? It runs on, now go with the local host, you can keep or go with the default options. Both represents the same thing. And then what is the entry point? What is the entry gate? It is 8081. So it just click on plus, it will give all the default things. Then says yes. This particular application runs on the local host 8081 port with HTTP protocol, and then in this mission. So now in order to touch this particular application, I have to give a path. Your path always should start with slash and then provide any unique name. You can even give your name as well. So slash, right? A slash next to the shift button, right? We will give that, and then your listener configurations are done. Now your listener is ready to accept the request. Now the second one, listener accepted the request. What it needs to do? What it needs to do? Second step, it should respond with a message. When someone calls you and say hi, what you should do? We will just say and keep quiet? No, right? We have to open our mouth and send some written message. In the same way, here also, what we will do is we will we will send some message back. How do you send? Mule is not a person to open its mouth and respond back. Mule is a tool, so we have to configure the tool to respond. So whatever you want to send to your opposite system, whichever is called, if you want to send some message, you should use something called set payload. What is that? Set payload. So whatever you will set here, that will go. In the set payload, you can send a normal text, you can write the expressions. So as it's a day one, first example, you don't know how to write the expressions. So by default, it comes with expression enabled, seeing that f of x is clicked here. If you observe, it showed like a clicked. So just click one more time to unclick that. So now see, it's a plain thing. When f of x is clicked, this will be in expression mode. When f of x is unclicked, this will be in your normal mode. So take your normal mode and then try to write some message. Hi all, welcome to Mulesoft, right? So I'm writing this. Now, after writing, now this message will go back to your browser. As a developer, how should you know if any request is comes in, or if any request is comes and processed? We have to know. So we will write something called logger, and then just add that logger next to this particular event processor. Even when you are writing the set, when you are keeping the set payload also, click on the set payload, keep it not everywhere, keep it next to your listener under the process. Listener is a kind like in your driver. It's your driver seat. Only one guy will sit in the driver seat. Next to driver, we have remaining bus or remaining things will be there. There, the next persons go and set. So the first thing is set payload. Second thing is logger, right? So set payload. What I'm setting, I'm unchecking this, and then say hi, welcome to Mulesoft, right? So you are setting some message, and then if you want to know you have received some request to your application, you will say just request received and processed. That's some text message you will use, right? Some text message you will use. Right now, save all your changes. So all of you know at least Microsoft Word you have used. Click on this save all to save the things. Right now you saved it. Now what I have to do? I said generally when you write in the program, you will execute some commands to compile, package, and run. So MuleSoft is an integrated MuleSoft IDE. Anypoint Studio is an IDE. With a few clicks of mouse, you can run all the commands. Now here we will use, after saving all, right click inside your application and then say run project. So click on the run project. What it will do, it will try to do two things. It will try to create a zip file, and in order to run your Mule application, it needs a server. So by default, it will comes up with a server Mule. It will comes up with a server Mule. Mule 4.4 runtime. Your Anypoint Studio 7.11 comes up with a server Mule 4.4. So now, once you right click and run, it will create a package, and then it will start your Mule server and deploy your Mule application. In the console view, right? Now we have covered the Mule properties. When you select any of the event processor, your Mule properties will show you the properties related to the this particular component. This is called event processor. So you will get to understand, you will get to digest the things very slowly after 4 or 5 days. So till then, all the nomenclature or all the terminologies looks a bit new to you, right? So just simply think like it's a component, right? So your Mule properties view will show the properties. That is what we have seen. And then when you run the application, whether the application is started, not started, deployed, failed, any errors, that information will be showed in a different view called console, right? By default, depending on your selection, depending on your action, those views will get automatically displayed. So inside, once you click on run, right click and run. So once you see this application is started, now what is the how we have to test this application? What is the agenda of our example? What is the agenda? Send some request from the browser with the URL and then get a response. Now copy this. How we are getting this? So from the listener, you have configured connector configuration. So I don't have option to click on new here. So already I have something exist. So if nothing is exist, I will create, add. If something is already existing, click on the edit to see that. So what are the values available? HTTP, and all interface, it is localhost, and then 8081. This is the configuration. So next, and after that, this is HTTP localhost 8081, and this is the name of this particular application, that is hi. So now take this and then go to a browser, and then try to enter this out. What will happen? What you have received? We have received hi, welcome to Mulesoft. So this is the first example in the Mulesoft. We have developed and we have run. So what you have to do is you have to practice this example, before tomorrow's session. So where do you get steps for this practice? We have the steps available. I'll give you a link. So time being, you can go with that steps. So Anypoint Studio, anatomy, and then first application. So use this URL, copy the things out here. Right? So copy the things out here. So use this URL, open this URL, and then here you will have steps for your application practice. So here you will have more steps. If you're comfortable with that, go through it. If not, go through the video and do it. So this is the thing they are executing, how the example works. Set up the example, and then it will show you everything in a detailed way, a step-by-step approach, right? So go and do that. So when you are creating your connector configuration, just click on the test connection to show the connection test successful. Why? Sometimes there will be, you are assuming like your listener has a port and you are giving it default port. If you're working in any office machines, sometimes these ports are already used. So just click on the test connection. If it says port available, test connection successful, fine. If it says connection is not successful, if you get address already in bind, something like that, try to increase the last number 8081 to 82, and then do test 83, and then do test until you get the test connection successful, right? Most of the machines 8081 will work. If anyone is using their office machine, then we have to use a different port, and then just go through the steps and then complete the practice. So whatever is there, that's fine, just run it, and then in the browser you have to see whatever the message you have used inside the set payload. So here we are using hello mule. In your set payload, see hello mule. When you deselect f of x, the field contains only the string hello mule. It doesn't not contain any hash or square brackets. So that is what they explained here. Just use this message, and then you should see something like this from the browser. So that is your first example. Now we have learned our first example. So now what extra things we have to learn? When you create your project, when it creates a file, this file will contain tabs at the bottom in this file. So open and then see message flow, global elements, configuration XML. So whatever the drag and drop we did, the backend, this is the code automatically generated, right? This is the code it generated automatically. That is the features, two-way editing between graphical and XML view. So your message flow contains a graphical view. Your configuration XML contains a XML-based view, right? And then we'll get to know the things slowly when we are progressing day by day, right? We'll get to know the things here. Now, after that, what we have to do? So let's go to the PPTs and then try to understand the things. What is this Mule application and what is this flow? So I've just shown you a different project screenshot. from your package explorer view, which is similar to this. So what is a mule application? What is a mule application? Right? So if any project contains any files, so when you have C project, when it contains .c files, then it is called C project. When it is Java, when it contains .java, Java project, right? In the Mulesoft, what your Mulesoft project will contain? Your Mulesoft project will contain what? Mule configuration files, right? Not .mule files, right? Those are called mule configuration files. So your mule project contains mule configuration files, right? So every mule application is a combination of one or more mule configuration files. In your project, what is this file? Whatever you have developed, what is this file is called? This file is called what? This file is called mule configuration file, right? Hope everyone is following. If anyone has any questions, feel free to raise your hand and interrupt me. I'll try to repeat the points. Is everyone clear? New members, non-IT people?
Yes, Kishore.
Right? So that is called a mule configuration file. In your project, what is a mule project? It's a combination of one or more mule configuration files. Fine. Inside the mule configuration file, what we will have? What is this, the rectangle box here, which automatically comes up with your listener? This is called, what is the ending word? Which is called a flow. So it looks like a flow. Flow means one after the other things are connected, right? So every mule up configuration file contains what? A flow. Mule configuration file contains a flow. When you go back to your C, you will have functions here. In Java, we will have classes and then methods. In the same way, in the mule, what we will have inside the mule configuration files, inside the mule configuration files, what we will have is flows. What are those? Flows, right? So these are flows we will have inside the mule configuration files. So this is a flow looks like. A flow looks like an event source and then set of event processors. We'll get to know more about flows in the next sessions, but time being, think like it's a flow. It's like an train where it has an engine. Engine is a source point, and then it has touched with the multiple bogies, right? Think like that. Later we will see what is this mule event source, mule event processor, and then mule event. Just your event source is the place where it accepts the request and hand over the request to the next event processors or next components. So each mule application or indirectly flow receives what? Events. The request is called event here, and then process them and route them to the other event processors or other endpoint. Inside mule application, I have configuration file. Inside configuration file, I have a flow. Inside flow, I have a source which initiates or which receives the request and then hand over that request to the next components. Mule applications accepts and process a mule event through a series of mule event processors plugged together inside a flow. What does it mean? You have a flow. Inside the flow, you will have an event processors which are connected to each other. In that, your event source will receive the mule event. The request is called event here, and then process the event by one after the other. And then A mule event source is the one that initiates the execution of the flow. So who should catch the request? Your event source is the one which should catch your request. And then a mule flow. What does your mule flow contains? It contains an event source. The first one kind of event source, kind of engine in the train, and then you will have event processors or bogies, and you will have some space for your error handling or exceptional handling, right? So we are not going to touch this. We're going to touch this around 20 days later, right? So here, what we will have, we'll have error handling. So event source, event processors, and then error handling. A mule application basically contains one or more flows. So inside a mule application, you will have a mule configuration file. Inside a file, configuration file, you will have the flows. It means indirectly a mule application contains one or more flows. Mule flow is started, mule flow start processing an event when it received by an event source. When this mule flow starts, when event source receives something. And this flow either contains all the processing stages or routes the message to the other flows. Just ignore the things. What it will do, it will get the data, it will get the request and then route the request to the different flows. So you can break up the big flow into complex flow into smaller number of subflows that are easy to process. So mule flow XML, this is the flow I have generated, and then this is the background XML automatically generates. First one is the graphical one that I have created by drag and drop, and internally it generates your XML. And then mule application building blocks and all. So the main building blocks of the mule applications are called components. These are the components that I have used, in which first is favorites, which are regularly used ones, and next one is the core, HTTP, sockets. So all your components are grouped together and they have given a name. That name is called a module. So inside module, you will have different sets of components are grouped together, and then they have given a name called module. We have different modules are there that we will see in tomorrow's session. So today, you guys go and practice this example with the given link. Hope everyone has saved that link, right? So if not, let me know. I'll share it one more time. Take it from there and then do practice. Tomorrow, I will reiterate the same example, and then we will go and discuss about the debugging. How do you debug? What is the process of debugging? How do you debug your mule application? And we will try to know more about some mule components and all. So I'm done. We have reached 7:31. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. If you don't have any questions, feel free to drop off and come up with the practicing the example. Right? So I have shared the links. First link is here, your YouTube channel, where you will YouTube playlist link where you can see your videos, and then your studio installation location, studio download link, and the third one is your, what is this? Third one is your first example, how to develop and run your first example, the steps for that, right? These are the things. So if you have any questions now, you can feel free to ask.
Kishore,
Yes.
you said that we can have multiple flows in a configuration, right? Is that meaning that each flow is like a method name in the Java or in C?
Something similar to that.
So, okay. So it's like operation in digital, multiple operations.
Exactly. Kind of functionality. Any questions from new members, non-IT people? Are you able to understand? I tried to go to the maximum extent. I went for maximum extent to the basics. Any non-IT people? Anil, absent. Girish, Nutan, Sajid.
No doubts. As of now, no doubts, Kishore.
Okay. And Ravi Kumar, if you are there. No, Ravi. Any questions from anyone? That's the reason I asked you the details.
And what about that one, Kishore? Configuration, HTTP listener configuration. What does it mean exactly?
Your adapter configuration,
Okay.
adapter connection pool creation kind of thing.
Mhm. Can you have multiple configurations for a single application or something?
We can have. Any questions, Girish, Mohan, Narsimha, Nutan, Vamshi, Vamshi Kiran, Vamshi Krishna, Venkata Ravi Kumar. Hope all of you good. If you have any questions, though it may be a silly question, feel free to ask. I'll try to help it out. Very good. Are you able to understand?
Yes, Kishore.
Any members who newly joined today, do you have any questions, either on the lecture or any other questions you have? If you don't have questions, feel free to drop off, guys. Tomorrow we will meet on the same time.